Hello everyone, welcome back to Max Chem 5 tutorials. Today we are treating a very fascinating topic. Before I delve into the topic, remember I explained that a food is any substance that possesses a chemical composition. The food can be liquid or solid, which when ingested supplies the body with nutrients necessary for growth, reproduction, respiration, and other vital functions. There are some substances in food. Those substances are actually what gives the body nutrients for all those processes as I listed earlier on. And those nutrients, those substances can be carbohydrates, proteins, fat and oil, mineral salt, water, vitamin, and roughages. Now, all these substances are present in the food we take in, but there are actually some tests used to identify or confirm the presence of each of those substances in the food material. That is what we are doing today. Tests for food substances. Let's start with simple sugar. How do you confirm the presence of simple sugars in a food item? Firstly, before I go further, the simple sugars, remember I told you that simple sugars are also known as monosaccharides. They are called monosaccharides because they consist of 1 unit of sugar, which means that when you hydrolyze them, they do not break down into simpler units. And the simple sugars are glucose, glucose, galactose, and fructose. Let's take glucose. Let's use it in the examples. Now, when you take a solution of glucose and put it in a test tube, you add Benedict solution. Benedict test is the test for simple sugars. Now, you boil the solution. On boiling, you discover a big red or orange precipitate. This indicates the presence of glucose or a simple sugar. Next is the reducing sugar. A reducing sugar is also known as the disaccharide. They are the type of sugars which on hydrolysis gives 2 units of monosaccharide. Then now the reducing sugars are lactose, maltose, sucrose. Now, sucrose is actually a non-reducing sugar because it does not have free aldehyde or ketone groups in its bond. You know that in this sucrose is made up of 2 units of simple sugars, which are fructose and glucose. Now, the sucrose is known as non-reducing sugar because it has no free aldehyde or ketone group. Now, there is a bond binding these two simple sugars that is known as the glycosidic bond. So the glycosidic bond is blocking the reducing group of the sucrose. That is why it is a non-reducing sugar. Now, lactose, maltose, and other sugars are known as the reducing sugars because they have free ketone or aldehyde group. So my point is to test for sugars that have 2 units, sugars made up of 2 units, that is lactose, maltose, and sucrose. The test is the Benedict or Ferlin test using the solution or reagent. Now, you add a quantity. Let's take sucrose. You add a quantity of sucrose solution in a test tube, add Benedict or Ferlin solution, add HCl. The essence of adding hydrochloric acid is to hydrolyze the sugar, that is to break it down into simpler units. So on hydrolysis, you boil. On boiling, you observe a yellow precipitate, and that indicates the presence of sucrose or a non-reducing sugar. So that is the test for reducing sugars. Let's move to starch. To test for starch, it is you use the iodine test. Let's take let's for example, for instance, let's use you can use a piece of yam, then you add a few drops of iodine on the surface. Then you observe a blue black color. Starch is present. Now, water. The test for in the test for water, you just take a food item, you drop you drop a blue a dry blue cobalt chloride paper. It is a blue paper. Now, if there is the presence of water in that food item, then you find that the blue color changes to pink. That indicates the presence of water. Proteins. Now, there are three major tests for proteins. The first is the Biuret test. The Biuret reagent is made up of the sodium hydroxide and copper 2 solution. Now, you add a quantity of food substance that is made up of protein, such as the white of an egg, or a fresh milk. You add it put it in a test tube. You add Biuret reagent. Now, here you don't eat this solution you have gotten. That is the reason for that is this compound, this copper 2 solution normally reacts with peptide bonds at room temperature. And peptide bonds are the bonds that bind amino acids together. And amino acids are made up of, and proteins, amino acids are what makes up proteins. So this reacts with amino acids at room temperature, so you don't boil. So when you add this, you discover that there is a color change. You observe a purple or violet color that indicates the presence of protein. Now, the millions test. In this case, you also take the same food substance, such as the white of an egg. So you add the millions reagent. Here, you just warm it, then you find a red precipitate. You find the red precipitate, you observe it, then that indicates the presence of protein. The next is the cytoprotic test. This reagent is made up of concentrated trioxynitrate 5 acid, that is HNO3, and ammonium hydroxide, that is NH4OH. Now, when you take this reagent, you add it to the solution of protein in the test tube, then you eat. You observe that before eating, you observe a white precipitate. On eating, it turns yellowish. Then on cooling, it turns orange. That is it indicates the presence of starch. Next is the test for fat and oil. There are two major tests. The first is the translucent test. This is probably the simplest of all these tests. It is something you can practice at home. Guess what you use here? In the translucent test, you use your filter paper. And if you don't have a filter paper, you can use any piece of paper, white, plain paper, dry paper, exactly. So you take maybe a newly boiled meat or a solution or a quantity of oil. You just you pour it just a little on that paper. What we are testing here is translucency. And there is a difference when you add the oil on the filter paper, you observe translucency. There is a difference between transparency, opacity, and translucency or translucence. In transparency, light can pass through the material and you can see through, such as a piece of glass. When I hold a piece of glass right before me, I can see the camera behind. Light can also pass through. That is transparency. In opacity, that is opaqueness. So in opacity, light cannot pass through and I cannot see through, such as my hand. When I occlude this path, I can't see the camera and you can't see me. Light can't pass through. That is an opaque object. So translucency. In translucency, it is just midway between transparency and opacity. Here, light can pass through, but you cannot see through. That is translucency. So when you take a piece of a little quantity of oil, or you stain the paper or filter paper with freshly boiled meat, you observe that you observe that area, you observe translucency. That means light passes through that area, but you cannot see through. That indicates the presence of fat and oil. The next test is the Sudan III test. In the Sudan III test, you add this reagent to you just add it to the quantity of fat and oil in the test tube, for example. You observe a red coloration before boiling. Then on boiling, you have to boil it. Before boiling, you observe a red coloration. Then after boiling, on boiling, you observe a black precipitate. That indicates the presence of fat and oil. So this is just an explanation of the tests for different substances in different food material. I am confident that you have a good understanding of the test for food substances, and I urge you to like, subscribe, and comment down there in the comment section for any questions. Thank you so much.